Hello, Brittany McKinney here, and today I'm going to be going over our applied research assignment involving my infographic about a social problem. I chose the social problem of foster care because it's important to me. I think that it kind of surrounds a lot of the things that we do, especially for myself in primary therapy. Some of the causes of the social problem of foster care can come from child abuse and neglect. Families could be facing violence, substance abuse, and sometimes they have to be removed for those situations. Families may have unstable housing or poverty where they can no longer take care of their families and they're deemed unfit. Systematic racism, we do see that there is an overrepresentation of children of color in the system. Now, whether that is because of stigmas around those populations, or are they unjustly taking their kids and not giving them back as easily as other races. There may be a lack of resources and insufficient funding to help these families continue to get on their feet. And then, of course, there could be domestic violence, substance abuse, or mental health problems within those homes that the children are removed and put into foster care for short-term or long-term reasons. Along with the causes of the social problem, we see some of the consequences that come with being in foster care. Foster care can cause emotional trauma. Like it could have attachment issues, depression, and anxiety for the children that are in there. And again, for the parents that lose their children. Instability, they might have to move around a lot. They may have to go to different schools, and that can create insecurity within themselves. Education disruption within those moves, you got to think that they're going to be changing schools, they're going to be changing classes, they're going to be changing friends. And right along with that is going to be mental health struggles. I can imagine that the instability could be really hard on these kids. And there is statistics that say that criminal justice involvement could come from a consequence of foster care. Foster youth are more likely to encounter the justice system due to the harmful things that they've seen. And then there are also economic challenges for foster children. They say that the alumni often face financial instability. Along with some of the social problems that we've been looking at this semester, we've kind of been looking at some of the research behind these problems and some of the bills and the things that are shown to be effective in helping this problem, and maybe things that have not been so effective. Some of the things that we have seen to be effective is there's a youth transition program, and programs like this create independent living programs for these kids, and they may have life skills training, job readiness, and education support for youth aging out of foster care. There's also family preservation services. These services help support families in crisis to prevent unnecessary placements through in-home interventions. And then there's the kinship care support, and that's about the policies and services that prioritize placing children with relatives to maintain family connections and stability. Along with some of those evidence-based practices that we're looking at, there are some Kentucky bills that are into play right now. One's going to be the House Bill 1, which was established in 2018, and that's kind of surrounding adoption and foster care reforms. And then there's House Bill 158, established in 2019, and that's establishing the Foster Child Bill of Rights. And that's kind of giving the statutory rights that foster children hold. And there's also the Kentucky Revised Statute 620.360, and that's talking about the foster parent rights and responsibilities. On the opposite side of the evidence-based practices that we see work and that are effective, we do have gaps in policies. I think that anytime there's such a large social problem, you're going to have gaps to where this population may not be getting their needs met. Some of those gaps that I've seen is the lack of support for the youth that are aging out, for the youth that are aging out. A lot of children exit the system and they don't have proper housing, they don't have training, and they don't have necessarily access to mental health care. Think when they're 18, it's kind of just, they're out on their own. And then there's also inconsistent family reunification efforts. It also seems like once they do go to a certain age, that there's not a lot of resources for them to regain relationships back with their biological family. They may not even have information of how to get back in touch with them. And then there's also inadequate caseworker resources. There's a lot of caseload, there's high burnout, and there's a lot of children assigned to workers that may not necessarily get the quality of care that they could get if we had more help. There's the gap in kinship care funding disputes. There's just not enough money out there. So we're seeing a lot of kids in smaller homes and they may not be getting the one-on-one help that they need. And then there's also the issue of foster children sleeping in government offices. This is an issue that come up just recently to where there wasn't placements for these kids. And so they were having to actually stay in government offices with some of the social workers staying overnight with them because there just wasn't any room. In 2024, there was around 350,000 children in America in foster care. Of that number, as of February 2025, Kentucky makes up 8,262 of those foster care children. Besides advocating for bills and changes in policy, some things that we can do to help the social problem of foster care are we can become foster parents, we can mentor or volunteer within the system, we can donate to foster care organizations, we can support kinship caregivers, and we can advocate for policy changes, as well as employing and providing opportunities to foster youth. I believe that if we can look at this social problem objectively and we see what is working and try to intervene with what is not, then we could potentially make a very big difference in this issue.